For years, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Sarah Ferguson told the world they were the happiest divorced couple alive. They said it with straight faces. They said it in interviews. They lived under the same roof. They raised their daughters side by side. They defended each other through scandals that would have finished most people twice over. Then a book came out, and one scene in that book, a single moment inside a room at Royal Lodge, collapsed the entire performance. The allegation is contained in Tina Brown's best-selling royal biography, The Palace Papers. Brown, former editor of Vanity Fair, claims that in 2015, Andrew entered a room at Royal Lodge, his lavish 30-room mansion near Windsor Castle, where Ferguson was dining with an unnamed American media executive. He did not greet her. He did not acknowledge the guest with any courtesy. According to Brown, Andrew pointed at Ferguson and asked, "What are you doing with this fat cow?" The executive was reportedly left stunned by the remark and perceived that Ferguson seemed afraid of her ex-husband. 2 words, delivered in front of a witness, to the mother of his children. The incident and Andrew's alleged level of sadism is said to have shocked the witness. Describing Andrew in extremely blunt terms, the source who spoke to Brown also claimed that Sarah seemed afraid of him. This is not a story about a single remark. It never was. Consider what it requires to say something like that. There must be a belief, settled, automatic, unchallenged, that the person standing in front of you has no power to respond, no recourse, no dignity that cannot be revoked on your schedule. The guest in the room was a senior American media executive. The setting was a formal lunch. The target was a woman who had been described publicly and repeatedly as Andrew's closest companion, his most loyal defender, the person who stood by him when the institution walked away. Sarah Ferguson had spoken publicly about the emotional cost of years of cruel press coverage. She said it took courage to go out in public in all the years she had been overweight. She said that every time there was a Duchess of Pork or Fat Frumpy Fergie headline, they did not have any idea they were reaching to the depths of her soul. Andrew allegedly knew this. He had watched it happen, and then, according to the allegation, he replicated it, privately, casually, in front of an audience. That detail, the audience, is not incidental. A remark made in private might be many things. A remark made in front of a guest is a performance. It is a demonstration of hierarchy. It is designed to be witnessed. The reaction from the media executive confirms the impact. The incident left the individual stunned, and the source described Andrew in extremely blunt terms for his behavior. This was not someone predisposed to judge the royal family harshly. This was someone who simply witnessed the exchange and found it appalling. Now step back further and examine the structure of their arrangement. Andrew and Ferguson were divorced in 1996. The marriage had collapsed publicly, spectacularly, with photographs, tabloid confessions, and genuine humiliation on both sides. And yet, they did not separate. Despite the divorce, they remained close friends and even lived together at Royal Lodge until Andrew's recent eviction earlier this year. Yahoo! Tina Brown described the logic of this arrangement with precision. The deal, she wrote, seemed to be that Andrew would bail Ferguson out when she was in trouble, and she would back him up when he was assailed by scandal. Brown called it the symbiosis of sheer survival. Stylecaster. Survival, not affection, not partnership. 2 people holding each other up because neither has anywhere else to fall. That is the backdrop against which the alleged insult occurred. A relationship built on mutual dependency, managed from a 30-room mansion, maintained through decades of coordinated public statements and private arrangements. Underneath all of it, according to at least one source present, an undercurrent left Ferguson appearing afraid of the man she called her best friend. The pattern does not begin or end with Ferguson. Andrew Lowney's biography, entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, alleges that there have been tensions between Andrew and his nephew Prince William for years. It says those tensions were partly occasioned by Andrew being rude about Kate Middleton, and that William has long worked behind the scenes to evict his uncle from Royal Lodge. Fox News. Lowney suggested that Andrew's attitude toward Kate may have stemmed from elitism, noting that his source said Andrew was rude to Kate. Lowney added, "I think he was probably rude because he is a real snob. He may have felt that Kate was not aristocratic enough to marry William." Yahoo! Lowney told Sky News that what most annoys him is his lack of royal status. He said that was what really gave him his whole sense of identity. Not being able to put on his uniforms and strut around and be self-important. Yahoo! A man whose identity was built on rank, whose self-worth was indexed to protocol and uniform and title, who, when those things were removed, did not find humility. He appears to have found targets. Then came February 19th, 2026. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was arrested by Thames Valley Police on suspicion of misconduct in public office, becoming the first senior British royal in modern history to be arrested by police. CNN photographs showed cars arriving at the Royal Sandringham estate in Norfolk early that morning, the morning of Mountbatten Windsor's 66th birthday. NPR reported that officers searched his addresses in both Berkshire and Norfolk. He was released under investigation by late Thursday. He has denied all accusations. CNN. King Charles expressed his deepest concern and pledged the royal family's full and wholehearted support and cooperation with the investigation. He said the law must take its course. CNBC. David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister, told reporters the arrest showed that no one is above the law. He said, "This is now a police investigation, and that must run its course." CNBC. The 30-room mansion was no longer his. Andrew was unceremoniously evicted from Royal Lodge earlier in 2026 and moved to Wood Farm, a property on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk. The nightly, the lunchrooms, the riding grounds, the staff, the footprint of privilege accumulated over 6 decades, gone. He is now under active police investigation for alleged misconduct in public office. The charge carries serious potential consequences under British law. Ferguson watched all of this unfold. And then she disappeared. She left Royal Lodge when Andrew was evicted at the beginning of February, slipping away from the Windsor estate that had been her home for decades, and simply vanished. The rumor mill went into overdrive. She was in Australia. No, Argentina. Actually, she was sofa surfing on Priscilla Presley's couch in Los Angeles. Maybe Dubai. Maybe Verbier. None of it was true, reported the Daily Beast. Ferguson had not been seen officially in public for 213 days when photographers finally located her. She was found at a luxury alpine resort in Austria, arriving near a chalet in a blacked-out Mercedes people carrier, wearing a blue coat, a white baseball cap, her hair tucked underneath, reported LBC. The Meierlife Medical Health Resort in Altusee, a sleepy Austrian village of 1,800 people, sits on the shores of a glassy alpine lake surrounded by snow-capped mountains. The rack rate for the room is reported at £2,000 per night, according to the Daily Beast. The Epstein files had revealed emails in which Ferguson referred to Epstein as a legend and told him she was at your service. Her appearance in the files has not been presented as evidence of criminal wrongdoing, but the association has caused serious reputational damage, reported International Business Times. Further revelations in documents released by U.S. authorities have continued to raise questions about the extent of Ferguson's contact with Epstein over the years, with the files suggesting communication continued longer than previously acknowledged, reported The Nightly. U.S. Congressman Suhas Subramaniam has written to her demanding cooperation with the congressional investigation into Epstein's sex trafficking operations. She has not responded to any of it, reported International Business Times. One source close to Ferguson said, "Everything has gone. Title, home, purpose, the lot." Another added, "She can't do that forever. This scandal is going to go on for years. Sooner or later, she's going to have to face the music," reported GB News. Face the music. After decades of managing headlines, negotiating reputations, and covering for each other in a system Tina Brown described as sheer survival, the music is no longer optional background noise. Sources told reporters in April 2026 that Ferguson suspects someone within her close-knit royal circle, possibly Andrew, may have tipped off the press to her whereabouts. She is convinced this was not luck, one insider said. Very few people knew where she was. In her mind, that points to someone on the inside. Stylecaster. The symbiosis of sheer survival, apparently, has limits. Return now to the room. The lunch. The American executive. The two words. Ferguson had called him her best friend. She stood by him through Epstein, through the stripping of his titles, through the eviction battle, and through years of coverage that could have broken a lesser alliance. And according to the allegation documented by Tina Brown, what she received in that room in 2015, in front of a witness at a lunch table, without warning or provocation, was public humiliation from the one person she had chosen to defend above all others. The executive walked away describing what they had witnessed in terms that require no elaboration. The source who spoke to Brown also described the dynamic between the two, suggesting that whatever drove their post-divorce arrangement was keeping both of them in place for reasons that had nothing to do with happiness. Reality T. One ugly remark can be dismissed. One ugly remark layered against the Kate Middleton allegations, the staff accounts in Lowney's biography, the arrest on his birthday, the eviction from the mansion, and the Epstein files is no longer a remark. It is a record